Hello, my name is Dr. Marco Seinar, and this is a Micropace instructional video to introduce our new software 4.0 version on the right, which is an update to the software 3.21 cardiac stimulator software, which has been in the market for some years. For the purposes of instructing customers and the knowledge needed by clinical specialists, the software is retrocompatible. The keyboard shortcuts remain the same, and the basic architecture of the software is also preserved, which means that you don't have to go and retrain customers, and clinical specialists also don't need any significant retraining. There are, however, significant improvements to the software, of course. The first is the consolidation of menus into simpler and clearer workflow on the stimulator screen. For example, the previous pacing site and current displays have been consolidated into one menu shown here, so that you can select channels and also control the current increase and decrease all under one menu. Another major improvement has been in the Ecg Sensing and Triggering. In the previous software, 3.21, Sense Site was set by the alternate Sense Site menu here. Its location was shown here, and the synchronization was set by the Sync First S1 parameter and also the Pace Mode parameters. All of these functions have been consolidated into one menu in the new software, making it much simpler. The Sense Site is set by this parameter up there, which can be double touched, and the menu comes up to determine the Sense Site. The Sync Mode has been consolidated into one parameter. Double touch it and you will get a menu of either asynchronous, sync the first S1 to ECG, or inhibited mode pacing, just like in a permanent pacemaker. Additionally, for syncing first S1, a delay parameter has been brought out from the configuration menu to this menu, so that you can set the delay from the triggering event to the first issued stimulus. The S1 parameters in the old stimulus menu, the train, the decrement, have been moved down to the S1 region in the new software to be together with the S1 parameter. So the train is now underneath S1, and the decrement parameter is down here and can be turned on or off just by touching the decrement. The Sense Trigger function in this new software has been further enhanced by indicating next to the selected channel from which channel you are sensing. So if you are sensing from channel 2, then there is an S indicated here next to channel 2, ventricle. Furthermore, when you are pacing, a green pace symbol is lit next to the ventricular channel, or whichever channel you're pacing. So if I change to channel A, then there is a green light next to A. If your pacing channel has high impedance, in other words, a break in the circuit, then the pacing indicator light will turn orange, and I will demonstrate this. We have now high impedance, the light is orange, and there is a warning to let you know. And that means that the current that you have programmed is not being delivered. The common causes are either a disconnection somewhere along the pacing chain, typically on the EP recorder not pressing the correct stimulus channel, or a faulty catheter or disconnected catheter. The pacing protocol remains essentially the same, but has been laid out in 2 columns instead of 1. You can select different pacing protocols just by touching them or with the old hotkey. And if you want to see the complete set of pacing protocols, you press the More button and you have them all listed. It's important to know that this pacing protocol is a preference list. You can select which ones are there and which are not by checking or unchecking these X's along here. So if you, for example, don't use the SNERD protocol, then you can uncheck the SNERD protocol. You see it there unchecked. And then when you exit this menu, the SNERD protocol has disappeared. That way you can clear out any unwanted protocols to simplify the interface, or you can add in other protocols, some of the more advanced protocols. Moving to the right, the Save and Recall menus for saving configurations of the stimulator for specific customers or specific doctors has been moved up here, and the Alt-S and Alt-R hotkeys have been consolidated into one touch menu, which can both save or restore from individual setups for different doctors. The configuration menu is the same as before and is accessed by the K hotkey there. The password is, as always, Henry. The menu looks much the same, and don't forget that each one of these parameters has a help file associated with it, which you invoke by simply pressing H on the keyboard or pressing help on the menu here. And the help will invoke a complete help text for each one of these parameters. I should also add that for any protocol, the most relevant parameters are highlighted in yellow, as the minimum S1 for pace is highlighted yellow here because we are in the pace menu. If I go into the rsynced SX menu and then go into help, then different parameters will be highlighted yellow because they are relevant to this protocol. Another feature present in the 3.21 and preserved here is the flip page. The stimulator has two pages, page A, which has the black ECG bar to distinguish it from page B, which you access by pressing this button, which gives you a grey bar, ECG bar rather. The two pages are distinguished by a very bright difference in the blue versus orange colors there to remind you which page you're on. And as you know, the two pages are almost completely separate stimulators so that you can set each page up for different procedures and flip between them in an instant. The only thing common between the pages A and B is the configuration file, which contains safety parameters, and of course that is preserved for the whole stimulator. The final element in this top part of the stimulator is the measurement display. When you pace, this display gives you the impedance beat to beat. In this case it's more than 9,000 because we have open circuit. I will close the circuit and you will see that you will see that the impedance has fallen to 520 ohms. We also display the voltage that the stimulator has issued to generate the 4 milliamp current. This voltage is useful for markets such as China and Japan, where cardiologists are used to stimulating with voltage-controlled stimulators. You can't set this voltage, but knowing what the voltage is assists the cardiologists in these markets to understand the functioning of the stimulator. Moving down to the bottom part of the software, you have the same S1 and S2 to 4 or 5 controls. So if I go to the multi-SX protocol, you can see S1 all the way up to S5. Each one of these has a properties menu which you access by highlighting the S1 and pressing the insert or the properties button. It's insert on the keyboard as before. The properties menu has controls to change the S1 from paced to sensed type, and it also has the delay AV enable and the delay AV pacing mode delay value in milliseconds. This is unchanged or same as the previous software. If you need help on this, you just press help here or press H on the keyboard and a full explanation is given to you. For S2 to S5, the same applies. You press Insert to get the Properties menu, and you can set a train of multiple S2s or multiple S3s, as well as changing the auto-decrementation. The S5 is the highest extra stimulus on the normal software configuration. If you need S6 and S7, this can be configured from the configuration control file. You can email us to ask how to do that if you have crazy enough doctors who need S6 and S7 extra stimuli. There are a couple of tips that I can give you. First of all, in the Pace menu, you can program the S1 to be 90% of the sensed RR interval instantly by pressing this 90% RR interval. The 90% value itself can be changed in the configuration menu, of course. Another important parameter to know about is this input parameter. It's at the bottom left corner of the screen, and by touching it you can select whether to enable the keyboard, the local touchscreen, or the remote touchscreen if you have a StimLab. This is to allow control of the various input channels so that you don't get accidental changes in the parameters from people just touching the screen or touching the keyboard. But if you suddenly can't control the stimulator from one of these input devices, check that parameter in case someone has changed on you, perhaps played a joke or accidentally changed it. Advanced protocols of the stimulator are similar to the previous software and are seen in the More Pacing Protocol menu. These included the biventricular pacing, which is 3-channel pacing for ventricular resynchronization testing, acute testing, refractory high-frequency stimulation for stimulating ganglia, vagal ganglia, PPI display, which automatically measures the post-pacing interval, useful particularly for ventricular tachycardia, and less so for atrial flutter, where the tachycardia rates can be very, very high. Finally, the paced S2 and the sensed S2, S3 protocols are special protocols used to discriminate accessory pathway potentials, and you can get help on any of these by pressing help and get help text on how the protocol works and what it is useful for. The help menu is still under the H key, or here, the green help, and it gives you context-sensitive help for the parameter that you have highlighted. That was S1 in our case. If you press Escape, it goes into the help top level menu, where you can select the actual protocol, help for the protocol that you're in, and training videos and the diagrams, which is number 4. And this is where you get your diagrams of arrhythmia. You can page down for the diagram of the anatomy of the heart, and so on. So these help menus are quite helpful for your training, but also to show customers the useful features of the stimulators beyond just ordinary pacing. The help videos, similar to the help videos in 3.21, can be accessed from the help menu under item number 3, and you press yes to escape from the program and to launch the help videos. This takes a few seconds. You say yes to this license agreement, and this is an example of an instruction on how to control the video. You escape from that, and then you have about 25 different chapters of video help material. If you select one, for example, one on high impedance, which you can go down here and select that way, then the video is launched.
Other useful features that help you pace during the study. First, there is the Ecg display bar. And also
to pause.
Response when you're.
You can press enter. You can continue it again. And to exit, you simply press escape. You press escape again, and you will eventually return back to the stimulator mode. The last interesting feature is the SureTouch film, which we ship with StimLabs, and in particular the remote or bedside controller. The SureTouch is a thin, non-reflective film which is over the screen, and it has raised buttons which you can see here on the side, where the up and down keys are for the stimulus control boxes. If you go into Multi-SX and launch these, then when you press up or down, you can actually feel the protuberance. The main benefit of that is that when a cardiologist is at a patient's bedside and is looking and focusing on the EP recorder signal traces, he may want to elevate or reduce the extra stimulus, and with the protuberances or the short touch buttons, he can actually continue to increase or decrease without having to look back to see whether he's still on the touch control. This concludes the brief instructional video on Software 4.0. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email Micropace, myself or one of our engineers, on support@micropace.com.au, or directly myself at m.seinar, CEJNAR, @micropace.com.au. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to hearing any inquiries or feedback on our software and our cardiac stimulator in general in the future. Goodbye.